yamunatiravanachari yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanidhari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanidhari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanidhari Vijana Balaba Girivanidhari Yashoyanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoyanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Vanachari Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Astottara Srimad ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki, Sridham Mayapur ki, Ganga Mai ki, Yamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 8, text 13 to 15. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tato Jayamudirayat Nastapreshu Abhideshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. This is text number 15. Okay. So I'll read 13 and 14 and then we'll do 15. tasyārtha-sūkṣmābhiniviṣṭa-dṛṣṭer antar-gato rtho rajasā tanīyān guṇena kāla-anugatena viddhaḥ sūṣyaṁs tadābhidyata nābhi-deśāt. The subtle subject matter of creation on which the Lord's attention was fixed was agitated by the material mode of passion, and thus the subtle form of creation pierced through his abdomen. Padma-kośaḥ sahasodatiṣṭhat kālena karma-pratibodhanena swarochisha tat-salilam vishalam viddyotayan arka-vivatmayonihi. Piercing through the sum total form of the fruitive activity of the living entities, took the shape of the bud of a lotus flower generated from the personality of Vishnu, and by his supreme will, it illuminated everything like the sun and dried up the vast waters of devastation. And today's text 15. Tat loka padmam sa'u eva Vishnu praviviṣṭa sarva gunavabhasam tasmin swayam vedamayo viddhata swayam bhuvam yam smavadanti sobhut taloka padmam sa'u eva Vishnu praviviṣṭa sarva gunavabhasam tasmin swayam vedamayo viddhata swayam bhuvam yam smavadanti sobhut taloka padmam sa'u eva Vishnu praviviṣṭa sarva gunavabhasam tasmin swayam vedamayo viddhata swayam bhuvam yam smavadanti sobhut. Taloka padmam sa'u eva Vishnu praviviṣṭa sarva gunavabhasam tasmin svayam vedamayo viddhata svayam bhuvam yam smavadam sabhu taloka padmam sau eva Vishnu abhiniviṣṭa sarva guna vavasam tasmin svayam vedamayo viddhata svayam bhuvam tam smavadanti sobhut taloka padmam sau eva Vishnu abhiniviṣṭa sarva guna bhavasam tasmin svayam vedamayo viddhata svayam bhuvam yam smavadanti sobhut taloka padmam sau eva Vishnu abhiniviṣṭa sarva guna vavasam tasmin svayam vedamayo viddhata sambhuvayam smavadanti sobhut. Anyone else? Taloka padmam sau eva Vishnu abhiniviṣṭa sarva guna bhavasam tasmin svayam vedamayo viddhata svayam bhuvam yam smavadanti sobhut. Tat, that, loka, universal, padmam, lotus flower, saha, he, certainly, eva, factually, Vishnu, the Lord, abhiniviṣṭa, entered into, sarva, all, guna avabhasam, reservoir of all modes of nature, tasmin, in which, swayam, in person, vedamaya, the personality of Vedic wisdom, viddhata, controller of the universe, swayam bhuvam, self-born, yam, whom, sma, in the past, vadanti, do say, saha, he, abhut, generated, into that universal form, universal lotus flower, Lord Vishnu personally entered as the Supreme Soul. And when it was thus impregnated with all the modes of material nature, the personality of Vedic wisdom, whom we call the self-born, was generated. Please repeat. Into that universal lotus flower, Lord Vishnu personally entered as the Super Soul. And when it was thus impregnated with all the modes of material nature, the personality of Vedic wisdom, whom we call the self-born, was generated. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The lotus flower is the universal Virat form, or the gigantic form of the Lord in the material world. It becomes amalgamated in the personality of Godhead Vishnu in his abdomen. At the time of dissolution, and it becomes manifest at the time of creation. This is due to Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who enters into each of the universes. In this form is the sum total of all the fruitive activities of the living entities, conditioned by material nature. And the first of them, namely Brahma, or the controller of the universe, is generated from this lotus flower. This firstborn living being, unlike all the others, has no material father, and thus he is called self-born or Swayambhu. He goes to sleep with Narayan at the time of devastation, and when there's another creation, he is born in this way. From this description, we have the conception of the three: the gross Virat worm, the subtle Hiranyagarbha, and the material creative force, Lord Brahma. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jnana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Gena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangurlangayate Girim Yatkrita Tanaham Bande Shri Guru Diratharinam. So, Prabhus, in this, or devotees, in this particular chapter, we're learning about cosmology, or how the universe actually comes into being, how the universe is full of various types of beings, 8,400,000 species, of which us humans are just one tiny part of all the species. And here Swayambhu, Lord Brahma, takes birth from the lotus navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He's known as Atmabhu, one who has only one parent. And he's manifestation of the creative energy of the Lord, as is stated here. So we know that from the quadruple expansions coming from Lord Balaram, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Vasudev, from Sankarshan comes Karanadaksha Vishnu, who lies in the causal ocean. And there's a river, Viraja, which separates all the Vaikuntha planets, Tripada Vibhuti, from the Ekapada Vibhuti, the material manifestation, which is generated ultimately by Krishna to fulfill the material desires of the living entities. Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhuteshu samoham. That the living entities, because of their desire to lord it over material energy, they somehow or other end up here in this dark place of the material world, in the prison house of the material world. And Krishna, by his unlimited potencies, Sarvasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shriyate, he has to generate all the various demigods, including Daivahiyesha Gunamai, including the three modes of material nature, to control the living entities in which they experience all types of material suffering. And so, this description of the entire cosmos is coming to us from Vedavyas and the great sages, down through Sukadeva Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya. So that is, they are the professors or the Mahajans here in this material world. So Srila Prabhupada once said that our proof is the Guru Parampara system, coming down from Brahma, the Brahma Sampradaya. We accept as truth what is given to us through the Shastra. Ashwadadanas Purusha Samshayatma Vinashati Nayam Lokostina Paro Na Sukham Na Param Gatim. Krishna tells Arjuna that those who have no faith in Shastra, in the words of the Lord and the great sages, that they can never come out of this material world. They can never attain the lotus feet of the Lord. In fact, they reject the words of God. As we argue with the scientists and the atheists, we say, if God exists, don't you think He can write a book? So the Lord has given us these Puranas, and the Bhagavad Purana, Nigalpakalpataror Galitam Phalam, the ripened fruit of all the Vedic knowledge, is given to us with all information regarding how the universe came into being, how Garbhodakshay Vishnu manifests from Karanodakshay Vishnu, and how he lies on the bed of Sheshanag on the bottom of our tweeny universe. Our universe is only 4 billion miles in diameter, up to the covering of the universe, down to the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean. The perspiration of Garbhodakshay Vishnu fills up half of the universe with his perspiration. And he's lying there on the Ananta Shesh, who has thousands and millions of heads. And he's constantly glorifying the Lord. Ramadishu kāla-niyamena advaitam achyutam anādam anantarupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha. So Ananta Vishnu, Ananta Shesh, he's constantly glorifying the Lord, all his various incarnations, his glories, his various avatars, Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Yoga avatars, various avatars, Shaktivesh avatars. They're all manifesting throughout the entire creation of the Lord. And we are compared to one tiny little mustard seed in a bucket full of mustard seeds, which is the Ekapad Vibhuti, or 1/4 of the entire kingdom of the Lord. Sarva Karna Karna Govindam Adi Purusham. Lord Govinda, the cowherd boy and the son of Maharaj Nanda and Mother Yashoda, is giving rise to all these wonderful Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sarva Matva Mamo Tejam Sambhava. Just Krishna says all these wonderful things are just a spark of my splendor. That all these wonderful things are just a spark of my splendor. So we know that Krishna has unlimited potencies and he has unlimited intelligence. And the foolish atheistic people, they're challenging asatyam apatishtam, asatyam. Everything is temporary. There is no God, we are God. And they come up with these crazy atheistic theories because they don't see God. Krishna is covering them by his illusory Maya potency, the curtain of illusion. Nābhi-deśāt suragada. Nābhi-deśāt. No one can know him. Nābhi-prakāsha sarvasya. No one, I've never manifested a foolish or less intelligent. Mudhyayam nābhi-janati. Mamevyam param avyayam. They can never understand Krishna, his unlimited intelligence. And the more they try to explain away God, God can't exist. So they come up with these theories of Darwin's theory of evolution, or the theory of Marxism, or Maya aparita jnana, the theory of the Big Bang, that somehow or other from chaos we get order. So Srila Prabhupada has challenged us to go and attack and crush these atheistic theories, that the fact that these natural selection working on genetic mutation can produce speciation or a variety of species of life, we are demonstrating to them that it is inadequate to produce various species of life. They have no idea how one species can evolve from another. The human body has 75 trillion cells, and in each cell is a complete universe full of various machines like protein molecules, enzymes, so many various nanomachines which are being produced by what is called information or linguistics. The DNA is like a language, just like someone writes a manual how to build a car. So they have no idea how to replicate life, and yet they say that there's no God. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're learning how Krishna effortlessly, simply by his will, the whole material manifestation is created. And we accept this by the association and taking shelter of the great Mahajans. Mahajana yena gasa sapanta. Swayambhu naradas shambhu komaram kapilo manu. Pralado janako bishmu. Vayam vayasaki. Bali vayasakir vayam. So the 12 Mahajans, including Lord Brahma, Swayambhu, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye, that they are being given all this unlimited, infinite knowledge of creation by the grace of the Super Soul. Sarvasya chaham hridhi shani vishto. Krishna explains in the 15th chapter that he is situated within everyone's heart. He enters into each atom as well. In fact, he's between the atom. So the scientists, many of them are admitting, like one famous scientist who became friendly with ISKCON, Eugene Wigner. He's a big physicist. He's a Nobel Award winner. He says, obviously there must be some intelligent agency behind this universe which is working in such a very refined and organized and complicated way, a very complex way. Obviously, there must be some intelligent agency behind this cosmos. And it's described, of course, in the 5th canto, how from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the 14 various planetary systems are all constructed, and in the middle of the universe, 2 billion miles above the crust of the universe, the above the Garbhodakshay ocean, we find the sun planet, and how the sun planet is moving in its orbit. In fact, all the planets in our universe are moving in a specific orbit, like the zodiac. All the various planets are moving through different orbits, and they're all being suspended from Dhruvaloka. This is described in the 5th canto by Srila Prabhupada. And he describes the higher planets, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Siddhaloka, various high planets. He describes how there are very subtle ropes which are holding all the planets in a specific position, and how they're all moving, of course, by the will of the Supreme Lord. Everything is going on. The scientists have no clue. Simply with their imperfect instruments created by their imperfect senses, their 4 defects are quite obvious. They make mistakes, they're cheating, they are in illusion, and their senses are imperfect. So these are the 4 defects of the material brain, the material mind. So in order for us to get real knowledge, Rajavidya Rajaguyam, Pavishram Idam Uttamam, Prakshaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Shushukam Kartum Avyayam, it comes from within. Krishna reveals, right? Tesham Satata Yuktanam, Piti Purvakam, Dadami Buddha Yogam Tam, Yenamam Upayanti Te, Tesham Uvanukam Partam, Aham Jnana Yam Chamaha, Nashamatmiyasvabhavastu, Jnana Deepena. The light of knowledge is given to us from within, not from without. Bahir artha, bahir, outside of ourselves, this material manifestation is moving, is constantly mutable, and they're trying to understand it from the atheistic perspective. We don't see God. Why should we believe in the some supreme being? Why should we bow down to God? The Prabhupada says, you're forced to bow down. You're forced. Parabhavasthavada bodhajato yavana jigyasa atmatadvam. You will meet with defeat. Krishna says the powerful force of time, kamosmi, that is a representative of Krishna. The time itself is ayur harati vaipunsam udyan astan chayana. So by the rising and setting of the sun, your life is being stolen away as you waste your time in pursuing material happiness in this place of complete misery, the forest of material enjoyment. Maharaj Rahugana is being instructed by Jada Bharat on this forest of material enjoyment, where the living entity, Purusho Prakritisto hi, Karanam Gunasangosa Sadasa Joni Jamasu, how the living entity is trying to fulfill his material desires. He's going from the higher planets, Shini Punya Marchalokam Vishanti. Then after using up his pious credits, he falls into this material here, Marchaloka, the middle planets, or worse still, Patanti Narake Sucho, by engaging in sinful activities, adharmam dharmam itya manyate tamasavitaha, sarvasham viparitam sya, buddhisaparta tamasi. Krishna describes in the 18th chapter how they're thinking that sinful activities are the purpose of human life. They think this is chintama parimeyam cha pralayanti upashitaha. They think that until my death, I have to engage these senses in sense pleasure. I have to exploit the material energy. And so I engage in all kinds of ugra karma. I invent various types of contraptions so I can enjoy. I can fly from New York to Hong Kong and eat some chicken. So who can do that? I'm so great. Meanwhile, the tiger, as Jada Bharat explains, the tiger of time is standing behind you, eating away at your life, and you're wasting your time simply banging your head against the wall like that. You surround yourself with relatives and friends and they're simply taking from you. Prabhupada once says, simply sucking blood. So in this way, the force of material enjoyment, the living entity is trying to enjoy this world in so many ways. Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukami tuṣyaṁs kanduyaneno kavayor ivaduka dukam tripyantine ha kripana bahuduka bhajam. That the living entity is trying to enjoy his family, his wife, his children, where they're simply compared to jackals in the forest and tigers simply taking. And he wastes his human form of life. So, Chintam aparimam cha pralayantam upashitaha kama paboga parama etavadidi nischitaha aneka ticha vibranta moha jala samavitaha prashakti kama bogeshu patanti narakesu cho. Krishna drives them by his different agency. They're driven into the hellish planets. And so we learn that not only are there pious planets, but there are also the lower planets, the hellish planets, described by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, all the hellish planets, where Prabhupada says, even if you kill a little ant or a mosquito, you have to incur some sinful reaction, even for killing tiny little amoebas that go inside your body, little germs. You're going to suffer if you don't surrender to the Lord. Aham tam sarva papebhyo. Krishna says, I accept all your sinful reactions. Simply surrender to me. And he's making it so easy in Kali Yuga. Even you don't want to surrender. Lord Chaitanya is giving, here, take. Simply chant this Maha Mantra. You don't have to perform great austerities, great tapasyas. You don't have to study the Vedas. Naham Vedar na tapasan na danina na chejaya. Krishna tells Arjuna, even if you study the Vedas, you may become distracted unless you bhaktyastu ananyaya shakya. Unless you engage in unalloyed devotional service under the guidance of the great Mahajans, the great Acharyas, the 6 Goswamis, the great Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all these are great personalities who've attained the ultimate goal of human life. Prema Pumartha Mohan, how to develop your love for Krishna. That is the purpose of our lives. How to develop this prema, which is dormant within our hearts. But the living entity is so stubborn that even we are going every day and distributing this great knowledge, this Rajavidya, the king of knowledge. Oh, I'm busy. I'm too busy. As Prabhupada said, he was approaching some big businessman. Sir, here, read the Bhagavatam. Find out who you are. Oh, I'm so busy. I have to marry my daughters. Have to be married. I have no time. And then on his deathbed, he was asking the doctor, can you give me a few more days? I have to arrange my daughter's marriage. Pumsos trio maitani bhavametam tayor eva hridaya granti mahu. In the heart, this knot gets harder, more and more, larger and larger, the knot of attachment. Atogri hashecha sutapti vitayar janasya moho yam aham mameti. I and mine, I am the body, everything belongs to me. I have to acquire more and more from my family members, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, so on and so forth. Ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyate. So this struggle is going on, and we're trying to tell them that the Supreme Lord Vishnu has created all these planetary systems, and now you find yourself in the Bhumandala on Bharatvarsh, one of the tiny little planets, and it is time for you to inquire into the absolute truth. It is time to find out the real truth. All your moksha karmano, all your attempts to understand outside the purview of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will end in defeat, in misery, and your human form of life will be wasted. Therefore, the great devotees of the Lord, Haridas Thakur, he's trying to relieve the anxiety of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Lord Krishna, has come in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishna, Sangopangascha Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtane Prayir, Yajanti Hi Sumedasha. That if you can even practice 100,000 Aswamedha Yagyas, one chanting of Krishna is far more than the performance of hundreds and thousands of Aswamedha Yagyas. This is described by Haridas Thakur to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That this powerful Mahamantra is the Yagya for Kali Yuga. It is the Yagya of the age. And simply Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vajat. Simply by chanting this Mahamantra under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, not independently. Mantraste Nishpala Phalam. Without the Guru Parampara, Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantrasta Nishpalam Phalam. You won't get the fruit of love of God. So many people chant Hare Krishna. Mayavadis are chanting Hare Krishna. Oh, it's a nice mantra. So they are committing offenses to the holy name. They're doing nam aparad. They can never get the full potency and power of the holy name. This has to be given by the bona fide spiritual master who is representing the Guru Parampara, the disciplic succession coming down from Lord Brahma. So here we see that Lord Brahma is being empowered by Lord Vishnu. And that Garbhadaksha Vishnu, he is generating all the various planets from within his navel. It's inconceivable, but we can only derive this knowledge from the Guru Parampara. There is no way that one can understand these things simply by using microscopes, telescopes, and then they extract some information like the red shift. They talk about, yeah, we found the red shift. Therefore, we see that the universe, based on the expansion of light, is expanding. So we extrapolate backwards, and we find that the universe must have sucked itself into zero gravity, which is called a singularity, and zero infinite temperature and infinite space. Singularity, that's their concept, pure speculation. And then the universe pulled itself so intensely into itself that it exploded 15 billion years ago. And this explosion, gradually the universe cooled down and all the planets came into being. So there was one atheist, his name was Fred Hoyle. And he is a famous astrophysicist. So he was investigating this theory of the Big Bang. First of all, what is infinite density? They say it was infinitely dense and infinitely hot, so it exploded. Can you tell me what is infinity? The language of physics and chemistry is called mathematics. And you have to have some language to explain your hypothesis. You need the mathematics, quantum theory, E equals mc squared, relativity theory to explain the physical, the logical physical interactions of matter. So can you tell me what is infinity? They have no idea. And so this Fred Hoyle, he calculated the probabilities that from chemicals, this explosion and then cooling down of the universe, and then chemical interactions of neutrons and protons and electrons, gradually you came to got some proteins, and then you got some living cell. And the probability worked out to be, if you had 1 million monkeys typing on 1 million typewriters, and they produced over 1 million years the complete works of Shakespeare. In other words, they're saying from chaos you get order, from random you get such sophisticated arrangements within life. And they keep holding on to this theory because they're very, very stubborn. But Prabhupada says, what is their ability? They can take life with their nuclear weapons. They can kill millions and millions of people. With all their inventions, they can cause cancer. Cancer is a direct a result of all this technology and chemical manipulation and so on. There's always a downside. There was one famous guy called Fritjof Capra. He's a big physicist, and he follows the Bhagavad Gita, and he wrote a book called The Dark Side of Material Advancement. And he shows how they're very expert at producing killing machines. The biggest industry in the world is military. The second biggest industry in the world is making pharmaceuticals to keep your body going. But there's showed so many side effects that these pharmaceuticals are killing people. These products of industry are killing people. So of course in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, etam drishtam avastabhya nastalpano pabudaya prabhavanti ugra karmana. Ugra karma. Ugra karma, that the demons are very, very eager to produce machines, all kinds of machines, but then shayaya jagato hitaha, to destroy their own civilization, they will produce so many machines. Now we have what is called intercontinental ballistic missiles, and they carry nuclear warheads. And these warheads are far bigger than the ones they dropped in Hiroshima and in Tokyo and so on, in Japan. So at any moment, Prabhupada said, these rascals are so proud of their inventions, but at any moment they can destroy their entire civilization. Albert Einstein was asked a question, what do you think about the Third World War? And he said, I don't know about the Third World War, but the Fourth World War will be, they'll be fighting with sticks and stones. And he himself understood that there must be some intelligence behind our universe, some background intelligence, because all life is dependent on information, and information is code, and someone writes code, code makers. Just like one big atheist, Richard Dawkins, said, it's quite uncanny, but when we drill down into the cell and we discover the DNA, it's like a computer code, as if someone wrote it. However, we have to remember that that's illusion, that all, all this mechanistic world we see around us, and these mechanisms and this highly sophisticated biotechnology which Krishna has created within a moment by effortlessly. He says, this is all simply come by some random chance, some random. So this rascal, Prabhupada says in the 10th canto, one of his final purports, he says, Matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. That, oh, you want ignorance? You want atheism? Let me supply. And Krishna is supplying from within your heart. Marxism, atheism, Big Bang Theory, Darwin's theory. He said these are the enemies of the world. And that we see how the Darwin's theory, evolution, has trickled into social sciences. So Hitler, he thought he justified his murder of millions of people by saying, well, survival of the fittest. We Nazis, we are the fittest. So we have to, you know, eliminate the weaker. Because that's Darwinism, you know. The processes, the physical processes are immolating the weak. And we get stronger and stronger species. And then, of course, we get human beings. So we see how these theories, they infiltrate into political science, into social science. And so people can justify murdering like Mao in China, or Stalin. They murdered millions and millions of people. They just murdered them, killed them out of fear. So this is the danger of the Maya, Lord Krishna's Maya energy. Daiviyesha mama maya, Daiviyesha gunamaya mama maya dhirachya. That if you're influenced by the mode of ignorance, you derive pleasure from other people's suffering. So you try to crush them and kill them. There's no soul. There's no life. You come and you go, just like a machine. You're simply a bio-machine. That's what they're saying. But here we know that all living beings are eternal parts and parcels of Lord Krishna. Mamai vamso jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatanam manasastan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. That the living entity is injected by Krishna's arrangement into the womb of the mother, and then the body is manufactured, right? Kamana daivanechana dehu janta prapadya striyo pavishtamadara pumsareta kanashraya. By Krishna's arrangement, kamana daivanechana, the living entity based on his karma takes birth in a particular womb. Cat, dog, demigod, human being, whatever, serpent, or take birth in some little egg that the flies, they lay eggs, and then you get the little worms, and then the worms become flies. All this is going on constantly in Krishna's creation. So it's so important for us. Tata pralinas tamasa mudo jonisu jayate. Krishna says, one who dies in a mode of ignorance takes birth in the lower species of life. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Patita Pavana, Hetu, Tava Avatar, Mosamo Patita Prabhu, Napai Bear, he's begging, please, please, Jeev Jago, Gora Sanda Bolo. Kotani Jajayo, stop sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. She simply got you down there, Adhyatmika, Adhyatmika Klesh, Adhibodhika, Adhidaivika. Her trident has 3 prongs and she's holding the soul down. So our business is to make people fortunate by giving them this great knowledge, this Srimad Bhagavat Purana, which is as brilliant as the sun, and is meant to dissipate the darkness of Kali-yuga. That we see Kali-yuga is overwhelmed by ignorance. The personality Kaliya is pushing every day. He's preaching, there's no God, enjoy, make some more money. And we see places where there's a lot of wealth, then you get more suffering, more sinful activities means more suffering. You go to Dubai, oh, they're so wealthy, but there's so many casinos, so much intoxication, so many things. Las Vegas, people running to America to try and enjoy. And they suffer more and more. Because Kali-yuga is very happy with his consort sin. So our business is to deliver them, and simply by kirtanat eva krishnasya, simply by chanting this Maha Mantra, all knowledge is revealed to us. And of course, one starts to experience this, this attachment to the holy name, this anandam buddhi vardhanam pratipadam punam ritasvadanam sarvatmastapadam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Anandam buddhi. We're all looking for this ananda, this happiness, this bliss. And it can only be given through the hands of the representatives of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Gauranga Mahaprabhu would say, Yarde deke tare kaha Krishna upadesha gara jnana guru hane desh. You all become a guru. Vartmana pradarshaka guru, shiksha guru. You become the guru, the professor, and give this wonderful knowledge to those who are thinking, oh, I'm a good Hindu, I'm a good Christian, I'm a good Muslim, I'm a good atheist. I don't hurt any humans. They don't understand that even if you believe in God but you eat meat, non-veg, you also will be suffering unless you have the senses controlled, then you will suffer, right? As Prahlad says, Suryavaryan dehinam sada samudviga diyamasat that my dear father, best of the demons, because you should take up the spiritual life. Vanam-gato yad darim ashriyeta, take shelter of the Lord. So we're asking everyone, take shelter of the Lord. Vanam-gato yad darim ashriyeta, take shelter of Lord Hari. Suravarya dehinam, they're all asura. They're all little Hiranyakashipus. And they are trying to enjoy this material world. So we'll end there, and we'll have one or 2 minutes for questions or comments. Mic doesn't work?
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you were explaining about that we have to be very compassionate towards these all living entities, and then the description was coming here like atheist and all the scientists, this kind of thing. And I see that Prabhupada sometimes, many times, like he is banging these all atheistic. So how he is showing some mercy? Can you show some light of Prabhupada, some compassion towards them?
How? Slowly.
How Srila Prabhupada showed the compassion towards this, the atheistic nature of scientists, some incident from Prabhupada.
How he defeated them, or
How showed his compassion towards them.
Oh, compassion. Yeah, so Srila Prabhupada would go on morning walks, and Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he was studying chemistry, PhD, at UCLA Irvine, which is south of Los Angeles. And Prabhupada would challenge. They say that life comes from chemicals. And when he met with many professors, he would challenge them. You see, he would say, first he would say, oh, you've come to see me, so you have some respect. He'd say, because you have never seen anyone who has seen God, it doesn't mean that there's not a person who has seen God. That he spoke to Dr. Stilson Judah on a morning walk. So in the morning walk, he would encourage us that we should write books, those who are scientific minded, and we should stage, mount an attack on the atheistic scientists, because they hold a seat of authority. If it's not scientific, it's pure speculation, it's pure, what they say, miraculous. There's no miracles. However, if you study the theory of evolution based on Darwin, it's a miracle if you could get something. Or if you could get life, a living being, a living chemical from the primordial soup is another miracle. They worked it out. They worked out probabilities. It's called the probability. And the space of probability is not sufficient to produce a living creature. The odds against are 10 to the power, 1 in 10 to the power 74. That's 10 with 74 zeros. But there are only 10 to the power 80 elemental particles in our universe. And there are only 10 to the power 130, I believe 116 events that occurred since the Big Bang. So with all their data they worked out on supercomputers, that the probability is so puny that you could get chemicals moving into a living cell. We have a chemical PhD here, Prabhu, and he'll tell you how complicated the cell is. And there's thousands of machines being produced constantly within every moment. Every moment there's things being produced, doing the protein molecules being produced. And those are like tools. They're like the mechanics of a cell, which keeps the cell going. And they have a job to do. And for those things to be produced, they have to be just specific. Just like if you made a hammer, the hammer has to have a specific configuration to do the job. It's not just if you have some piece of steel and it's not strong enough, it doesn't have a head, doesn't have a claw, it won't do the job. So these protein molecules that are produced, they have to fold perfectly in a certain way so they can go and do the job. Just like in a mechanic, he has tools so he can turn bolts and nuts and screws and various parts of that machine. So biomechanics, Prabhu here can tell you about it. So Prabhupada is challenging them. He is completely affrontal, and he is saying, why don't you talk about it, why don't you make anything? Make me a little E. coli, a little germ that's in your stomach, little E. coli. And it has so many mechanical parts to it that they're discovering, you know. And so, of course, when the scholars came to meet Prabhupada, he would challenge them. Why don't you surrender? If you think someone has more knowledge than you, why don't you surrender to them? And many of the scholars would give, glowing eulogies to Prabhupada's writings. And we have so many scholars glorifying Srila Prabhupada's books, his purports that he wrote. And, many of the scholars, what can they do? If they speak against atheism, they lose their tenure, they lose their job, they get thrown out. So many times people have questioned of the authority, the scientific authority. It's like Sukracharya, they're all little Sukracharyas, and he cursed Bali. I curse you. And Bali said, go ahead. I have to serve Lord Vamandev. He's God himself. So like that, people who rebel against the authority, they get cursed by the authorities, lose your job, ostracized. Fred Hoyle, when he questioned the authority of cosmology, atheistic cosmology, immediately he lost his tenure. He's a top astrophysicist, and he was buried. They buried him into obscurity because he questioned probabilities. He worked out probabilities that from a big explosion you could get complex life. Impossible. So here's one example, many examples, that those who question the authority, they come under attack. They come under attack, and many of them are their income and so on, everything, their careers, everything comes under threat. So we are the warriors of Lord Chaitanya. We're Lord Chaitanya's soldiers, Lord Srila Prabhupada's soldiers. He is the Senapati. And gradually we have to push back. Of course, the demons are self-defeatist. They don't have so much power and they're constantly fighting with each other. In the older days, we read that the demigods were fighting the demons. Demons had some solidarity. But now the demons, the East Bloc is fighting the West Bloc, the capitalists fighting the communists, on and on and on. Even within a country, you have one political party fighting another political party, on and on. In the family, relatives are fighting with each other. This is the influence of Kali Yuga. So Lord Chaitanya is coming and saying, you're all basically very fallen, very demoniac, but this holy name, this Mahamantra of the, in the age of Kali, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Kali Kalaya Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar Nama Hoite Hoy Sarva Jagat Nishtar. That this is the only medicine, it's the only solution to all the problems of the world. And Prabhupada is taking Malechas, Yavanas, Kiratas, Hunandras, Pulinda, Pulkash, Ambira, Shamba, Yavana, Kashadaya, Yene Chapapa, Tadapa, Shraya, Shraya, Sudyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. He's turning all of us into Vaishnavas who are better than Brahmins. Just because you're a Brahmin, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you are developing your love of God. The Vaishnava is one who, from any situation, he's developing his love for Krishna. So it's superior. Vaishnava is already Brahmin, more than Brahmin, right? So that is what Prabhupada is doing. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta also was preaching. Many lower castes became his disciples. They took Brahmin initiation and they went out preaching. Srila Prabhupada is taking, even giving Brahmin to women, which has created a lot of concern and controversy. And then he was criticized for giving Malechas sannyas, order of sannyas. We don't care about the varnashram, mundane varnashram. We're transcendental, Devi varnashram. Striyo vaishyas tata sudras. Striyo means woman. Woman can be guru. I associated with Yamuna Devi for 10 years. In Canada, she lived in Sharanagati, Canada. I was her neighbor. She's more advanced than most of the men I've met in ISKCON. Very advanced devotee. She had a very special relationship with Srila Prabhupada, very special. Prabhupada was very close. That was his premier daughter, Yamuna Devi. Her heart is always on the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, always, without deviation. And they wrote a biography about her, you can read. So it doesn't matter, Striyo vaishyas tata sudras, tepi yanti param gatim. Anyone, if they are fully, with their heart surrendered to the Guru and Krishna, then they can become Acharya also. Janava Mataji, Lord Nityananda's wife, right? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.